The story of how Kawhi Leonard finessed and effectively stole from the Los Angeles Clippers starts all the way back in San Antonio. It starts all the way back in 2017 in the 2017 Western Conference Finals between the San Antonio Spurs and the Golden State Warriors. Hey guys, my name is Emmanuel Kamia, and before I jump into this video, I just want to ask you guys to give me the HBO special, that is the Help a Brother Out, and you can do that by hitting the subscribe button and leaving a like underneath this video if you like this kind of content. Aside from that, back to the Kawhi Leonard story. So yes, the story of Kawhi Leonard finessing the Clippers goes all the way back to when Zaza Pachulia facilitated one of the dirtiest moves we've ever seen in the playoffs. Effectively, what he did was he played a big role in breaking Kawhi Leonard's foot. Little did everyone know that that injury would lead to the Toronto Raptors winning their first ever championship. And it did so because after a lengthy timetable set for Kawhi Leonard by the San Antonio medical staff, Kawhi Leonard refused to return to the lineup after that timetable was up. He refused to listen to what the doctors in the San Antonio Spurs organization were telling him and sought help elsewhere. That's what led him to go all the way to New York for a second opinion, an opinion that confirmed his suspicion that he wasn't ready to return to the lineup. Although everybody else, including the San Antonio front office, San Antonio players, thinking he was just exaggerating. And because he wouldn't return to the San Antonio's lineup, and because of how important he was to the San Antonio's lineup, evident by how the Warriors were losing to a fully healthy San Antonio Spurs team, Greg Popovich and the front office decided to do something about this. So what Greg Popovich did was he enlisted players, teammates of Kawhi Leonard, to effectively come after him in the media. So what happened was Tony Parker came out and he basically blasted Kawhi Leonard, saying that he'd had injuries in the past before that he's played through. He's seen Tim Duncan play through injuries and the greats just learned to deal with it. This effectively was the straw that broke the camel's back for Kawhi Leonard. Why? Because in sports, not just basketball, but in sports in general, there are really two things in locker rooms that people don't discuss. And that is a teammate's injury and a teammate's contract. You don't talk about another man's money, and you don't talk about another man's injury because you don't know what he's going through. You don't know what the recovery is. You don't know what the pain of that is. And so when teammates came out and critiqued Kawhi Leonard, to him, it was the breaking of a trust that he had with the team and organization. And everybody knew, Kawhi Leonard knew, and the media knew that Tony Parker was just effectively a mouthpiece for Greg Popovich. And because of that betrayal, Kawhi Leonard felt that there was no need for him to stay in San Antonio any longer. And because of that, he demanded a trade. This further angered the San Antonio Spurs management. And so they thought they would stick it to Kawhi Leonard. They thought that if he wanted a trade, they would give him a trade. They thought they would send him away as far away as possible from his home of Los Angeles to a place where he would just slip into irrelevancy and would have zero chances of winning a championship. And so they picked Toronto, the Toronto Raptors. But inversely, the Toronto Raptors were making a gamble. They were making a gamble because they were going to invest, they were going to trade pieces for a guy who, A, had a string of injury issues and hadn't played for a whole year. And B, they were going to trade for a guy who had stated publicly that if he wasn't traded to either the Los Angeles Clippers or the Los Angeles Lakers, whichever team he'd get traded to, he would only stay there for a year because he wanted to come home. So effectively, the Toronto Raptors were going to be getting him for a one-year rental. So that's a big gamble to make. But nonetheless, Masai Ujiri pulled the trigger and traded for Kawhi Leonard. The 2018-2019 season started and time went on, and essentially everything panned out pretty well for both parties, in the sense that for the Toronto Raptors, out of a really risky gamble, they got out of it their first ever and only championship with Kawhi Leonard, and Kawhi got out of it load management. Kawhi was allowed to take games off in the name of load management. And this is what Kawhi Leonard fell in love with. The idea that he could only play 60 games, not have to play back-to-back games, and still manage to win a championship, that was very enticing to him. And that is what sparked the controversy of load management. Kawhi Leonard is who popularized it. And when he won a championship in Toronto, everything changed. Everyone wanted a piece of Kawhi Leonard. Remember, he was a free agent now, and he had just won a championship for the Toronto Raptors. And prior to that, the only other time he had played in the last 2 years was with the San Antonio Spurs. In the